Another 45 minutes pass without any more clear information coming through. There's chaos on the radio. Hey, it's me! And people are in a panic. But after an hour, the confusion suddenly stops and a shocking report comes in.
All personnel on scene. The suspects have been apprehended. The hijacking is over. I repeat.
They dealt with it so soon?
Though some passengers were ill, there were no casualties. As far as I know, the hijackers didn't even make any demands. It's hard to think that the police could have negotiated with them. But on the other hand, there's no indication that the special assault, there we go, team had stormed the plane. Did the group surrender now that their decoy objective was complete?
What's going on here?
Just then, a radio call came in directly for me.
Operator to 002, over. The hijacking has been dealt with, but the transfer must be canceled. The whereabouts of one piece of cargo cannot be confirmed. All indications are that it has been stolen.
Then that vehicle earlier. Are you still in pursuit?
We're tracking it through the end system. Head to the guest room immediately so we can discuss our response.
It looks like my call to report that suspicious van had not been a mistake.
Understood.
Oh, I keep hitting X too soon because I'm not done actually speaking, but like when I finish reading the text, I hit X for the next one and then they talk and yeah, it's a mess. Soon after, the involved parties were gathered in the conference room. Kirijo-san and the police are talking hurriedly. A good number of this quickly put together team are not aware of the confidential nature of this matter. I imagine things won't be proceeding so smoothly. At any rate, the van on the run can be tracked through the in system. The hijackers were handed over to the airport police, while those of us who knew the truth about the cargo were moved to one of her buildings.
That was a very tidy operation. I had thought it would take at least half a day.
To put it delicately, we had someone with special abilities handling this.
Aegis? Probably Aegis.
Then again, though we prevented any harm from coming to the hostages, we lost the cargo.
Actually, it was probably Akihiko. They just dropped Akihiko on the plane, and then with his bare fists, he took everyone down.
Nothing for it, I suppose. Who would have expected an entire hijacking to cover up the theft of some cargo? I must apologize to you as well. I was the closest at hand when it happened.
No, you did more than enough. It's thanks to your sharp eyes that we're able to track the suspicious vehicle now. I'm impressed that you realized in all the chaos that the cargo was the true target. You even spotted their getaway truck.
Thank you. Our next step should be to interrogate the suspects in custody and...
Sadly, it won't be that simple. I haven't heard much yet, but it seems they're having unexpected difficulties with the interrogation. It will take some time.
If they were prepared to risk their lives for this operation, I suppose they won't break so easily.
We made an error in judgment. We were too focused on preventing the item itself from doing any damage.
But since they targeted something so unusual, that should narrow down the suspect pool.
I can't deny it's possible that someone connected to the Kirijo group is behind this. Thank you for your assistance, Shirogane. I'm sorry to have involved you in this mess, but the professionals will take it from here.
Professionals. In other words, she plans to investigate this herself as a shadow operative.
Does that mean my work here is done?
I'm afraid so. We do value your cooperation.
This is a bit of a pickle. The Kirijo group and the police want to keep this under wraps. That is, they cannot open a public investigation. On top of that, the Shadow Operatives are technically an organization working for the police, so there's no room for freelancers here. Which means there's no need for me to be involved in the investigation any further. Insisting to stay on this case would only draw attention. With no other choice, I decided to take my leave. How many different locations does Naoto's story get? Naoto has had more locations in the first, 30 minutes of her episode than some of the other episodes throughout their entire, 2 hours. It must have been chaos at the office. Yep, that was me. Despite the unusual events, the man who hired me has not yet gotten in touch. I entertained the thought of returning home to Inaba, but luckily enough, I've brought enough luggage for a short trip out of town. I decided to stay the night at a business hotel near the airport and wait a while for my client to contact me. Time passes. At 9 o'clock, I finally receive a phone call from the man.
Things have taken an unexpected turn. This case is under the jurisdiction of the Shadow Operatives now.
That will make it very difficult to continue my secret investigation.
But right now, you're the only one we have who's gotten that close. We heard you earned Kirijo's trust after the hijacking. We'd like you to keep up your investigation. We're currently making arrangements for you to pick it up again in a natural way.
What are you gonna have me do? I will not act as a spy.
I'll be in touch later.
He hangs up without waiting for my reply. I sigh. Yeah, I saw. I feel a weight in my heart. This has a high possibility of turning into a private investigation from the shadows. Pretty much a polite way of saying corporate espionage. If I'm to take on this job, I need to have some sort of plan. At any rate, I cannot plan my movements without knowing how the situation is progressing. It would be far better to prepare for tomorrow instead of getting worked up with worry. I read the newspaper and watch some of the TV coverage of today's events, then go to bed early. A day passes, and even by the night of May 2nd, the man has not contacted me again. By the way, this is like this feels at least like the longest intro since Narukami's. And as I said earlier in the playthrough, when we first streamed this game, the first day where I did Narukami's story, with how much dialogue and text there was, especially the text to read at the start, that was just like nonsense and recaps and just not needed, I was like, I don't really like this very much. And then it got better in the other stories because it wasn't quite as long. Now Toes is going back to being long, but I actually really love this because this is new and interesting, and it's setting up a lot of like the preamble that led into how the other stories started, because we kind of were like dropped into the Labras scenario in the other stories. Now Toes is actually showing us how Labras got to that point, which I really like. So I actually like this a lot. Naoto's story is looking like the second best so far after Kanji's, because Kanji is great. It seems the police are having trouble zeroing in on the suspicious vehicle, words. Although, Yosuke's story is also really up there for me, because the intermission bit with Yosuke, with facing his shadow again, was just chef's kiss. It was so beautifully done for Yosuke's character. Considering the skill with which the crime was pulled off, I wouldn't be surprised if that van had been dumped somewhere and the cargo loaded onto another vehicle. Going through all the possibilities is just a way to kill time. I feel like this story should have been first. I don't know. I think Narukami should have been first because he's Narukami. And dropping you into the Labras scenario and then showing you how it plays out in a later story is honestly a neat way to do it. I prefer being a little more like, because it makes you like, with all of the other characters, like if you already knew the lead up to the Labras bit from Naoto's story, then you wouldn't like feel as confused as the other characters were, because you already know what's going on. So like when you do Yosuke, Chie, and Yukiko's story and all them, you're also just dropped right into the Labras scenario, words, just like they are. And you're seeing it from their perspective. It's even all of the text narration is done from their perspective. So it makes more sense that with their stories being started by them being dropped into it, not really knowing the lead up, that you would as well. And then when you do Naoto's story, you kind of piece it together like, oh, that's why the Labras stuff was going on in the other stories. So I actually think that this one, being, like, one of the later ones, works a lot better narratively. It's the only thing I had to do. Nothing happened until the sky began to darken as the sun went down. My phone finally rang. But, surprisingly, the name on the screen brought a smile to my face.
Yes, Shirogane speaking.
Hi, Nato-kun. Oh, I'm not interrupting your work, am I?
Oh, here we go again. Chie being a moron.
No, it's quite all right.
Sorry to call so late. I wanted to at least give it one more shot about tomorrow.
That's right, so much has been happening that I completely forgot the school holidays start tomorrow. And of course, we're supposed to have a reunion with Yu Senpai when he visits from the city tomorrow. I was supposed to be able to meet up with them. I didn't imagine that I'd be stuck here for 3 days, thanks to the attempted hijacking at the airport. But since I've undertaken the job, I have obligations that I can't just abandon. I'm starting to actually feel some anger towards whoever the culprits are.
I'm sorry, but it seems I still won't be able to make it. I'm actually not in Inaba at the moment, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that. Oh, then I guess you can't check even if it rains.
Even if it rains?
Oh, nothing. Just talking to myself.
Huh? What was that?
It's okay, Naoto-kun. I know there are people who'd be in trouble without you. You need to stay there and help them out.
You idiot! Tell her that her future husband is missing! Or Rize is missing. I don't remember who you know is missing or is not.
Yes, well...
Help them out, huh? It irritates me to know that what I'm going to do, I can't read. What I'm going to do is pretty much spy work.
It really is a shame. Give my regards to Senpai and the others, won't you?
Will do. Good luck with the job.
I hang up the phone. Seeing my dear Senpai again. I feel that's much more important than a job with an uncertain outcome, and I feel a little sad that I'm gonna miss it. Maybe I should just turn the case down and make a surprise visit tomorrow.
I wonder if any train would make it in time.
But it looks like the case is not about to let me leave. After my talk with Chie-san, I began to prepare for bed. And that's when the public safety official called me again.
It seems we may be back on for the secret investigation. Mitsuru Kirijo just requested our cooperation. We agreed. A detective by the name of Kurosawa will be heading out tomorrow. We want you to accompany him to the rendezvous point.
When I ask about this Kurosawa fellow, I receive an unanticipated answer. Apparently, he had helped Kirijo-san's activities on his own while he was a constable. Kurosawa, is that a name that I should know from Persona 3, chat? Even though his superiors didn't understand what Kirijo-san was up to, he followed his own instincts and helped her to protect his town. Normally, he would be punished for this, but the situation took a 180-degree turn thanks to the establishment of the Shadow Operatives. His knowledge has been invaluable, and rather than being disciplined, he has been promoted to plainclothes detective. It's the police guy who sold you weapons and armor. I do not remember who that is from Persona 3. Maybe if I saw him, I'd remember.
Kurosawa is willing to leak you whatever info he learns about the Kirijo group through his cooperation with them.
I'm surprised he agreed to that. Hasn't he assisted Kirijo-san and her group in the past?
I'm afraid that's something you'll have to ask him about, although he seems to have his own agenda.
I confirmed several other details before ending the call. Detective Kurosawa. Kurosawa, I have so much trouble saying that name. If he's working with the Kirijo group, it could be something of a problem. But if they have information to leak, that means they must have located the vehicle in question. Still, considering how long it took them to find it, I may be in for a long trip. Where am I going to be sent now? I shrugged to myself. The next day, May 3rd, I meet with Detective Kurosawa. I expected someone who looked shadier, but the man appeared hardworking and honest.
I'm Kurosawa.
But he's not he's not honest looking enough to get his own character portrait.
I'm Naoto Shiragane. Thank you for your assistance.
I've heard rumors about you, Ace Detective. Let's get going.
We make our greeting brief, and I get into Detective Kurosawa's car. Oh, dang, there, now he gets a picture. A private investigation in a location that I have no prior knowledge or experience of. This was a depressing job in the first place, and the addition of more and more unknown variables is only making me more displeased with it.
You seem pretty listless.
Oh no, I'm fine. Where are we headed, by the way?
The place where they found the getaway car from the hijacking. A town called Inaba. It's a small place with an odd history. They just had a bizarre serial murder case there last year.
This guy was not informed at all that Naoto goes to school there and was part of that case?
Inaba?
I can't stop the surprise from showing in my voice.
That's your hometown, right? Isn't that why they're sending you?
I'm at a loss for words, but Detective Kurosawa continues instead of waiting for me to reply.
The request I got from the Shadow Operatives was to assist in gathering information about those murders. They want me to meet with a supervising detective of that case and ask him for the full story.
Dojima.
Not only are they part of public safety, they're an unofficial unit. They can't come to the district police for information.
Why him? Is his case related to the robbery in some way?
Public safety is sharper than you might think. They do basic reviews on all cases to see if shadows were involved. Inaba is on their watch list now. And with that cargo being brought there, they naturally suspect a connection between the cases.
Dude, this is such a cool combination of Persona 3 and 4. I really, really hope we get, whether it's an arena game or something else, I really hope we get, like, a crossover of this style between Persona 5 and Persona 4, 3, or both. If there is a connection, then it might be related to our case. I begin to have ominous thoughts and my expression darkens. But Detective Kurosawa doesn't probe into that topic. Perhaps he's the type of person who doesn't judge people based on evidence, but gets a feel for them through conversation and actions. How am I reflected in his eyes? I can't help but wonder. Well, look at all of these conveniently placed TVs for you to fall into. Yet another new area and portrait that Naoto's story has. Detective Kurosawa goes inside the Inaba police station while I wait in the car near the junkyard. The familiar sights of Inaba seem strange somehow. The detective in charge of this case must be none other than Dojima-san. Detective Ryutaru Dojima, of course I'm familiar with him. And not just through our profession, Dojima-san acted as Yu Senpai's guardian while he stayed in Inaba. I wish it wasn't as visual novel heavy, that's all. Yeah. Honestly, I wish the story was not as long and just had less of the text, more dialogue. Like, the text of being the, like, inner thoughts and the perspective of the characters is neat and all, but it does feel really bloated at times. They definitely could have cut down on the amount of text, kept the same amount of dialogue. It would have made the stories, like, all the stories, like, I don't know, like, 20 to 30 minutes shorter, probably, but that would have honestly just made it better, to be honest. Dojima-san acted as Yu-senpai's guardian while he stayed in Inaba. I feel like I'm betraying him as well and can't stop myself from sighing again. Soon enough, Detective Kurosawa steps out of the station. I thought he was coming back, but halfway to the car, he turns and walks into the junkyard. I wonder what he's doing. I stick my head out the window and try to track him. There's another car parked behind a pile of junk. That distinctive grill style. That's Kirijo-san's limousine. The entire limousine? I hurriedly pull my head back into the car. That's right, Detective Kurosawa came here to cooperate with Kirijo-san, but still, to bring me along and park so close to her is... Then again, it's very unnatural to park far from a rendezvous point. Detective Kurosawa made the right decision. I calm down and slide into the rear seat, keeping my head low. Still, Kirijo-san uses that black limousine while undertaking her Shadow Operative duties as well. That car sticks out like a sore thumb here in Inaba. Heck, it's distinctive anywhere in Japan. Why would someone as clever as Kirijo-san take that car on a special mission like this? Does she have some profound reasoning behind it? Later on, when Naoto asked Kirijo, aka Mitsuru, about this, Mitsuru literally just said, "It's my favorite car. I just like to ride in it." After a while, Detective Kurosawa finally comes back to the car.
Kurosawa-san, may I ask you something? Why are you working with public safety?
You're asking that now? I thought that would be your very first question.
Why do you get a portrait now and not in your first bit of dialogue? After wiping a dry smile from his face, Detective Kurosawa turns to me with an incredibly serious expression.
You can spy on Mitsuru Kirijo and her Shadow Operatives to your heart's content and never find anything suspicious. But for that to be understood, at some point or another, everything she does has to be investigated to eliminate those doubts. In which case, it's better someone like you do the investigating than someone official who will never understand. That's all there is to it.
So he does have his reasons after all.
Thank you for your cooperation.
I'll leave the rest in your hands.
I exit the vehicle. Kurosawa-san takes his car into the highway and speeds out of sight. Speeds? He's speeding? Pull him over. Give that man a ticket. He has no doubts whatsoever regarding Kirijo-san's activities. If you knew Mitsuru Kirijo, you would give her your life. Like, I would trust her with everything. To be honest, I'm inclined to agree with him, but I can't jump to conclusions without any evidence. I use heaps of junk as cover to sneak close to the limousine and watch. Not long after, I see two people exit the vehicle. Yo, is it Akihiko? Oh no, it's Aigis. I really wanted Naoto to see Akihiko in all of his muscled, scarred glory with just a red cape stepping out of the limo. One of them is Kirijo-san, the other one is a frigging robot! However, unlike when I saw her at the airport, she's wearing equipment likely suited for combat. The other person looks strange.
Is that the fabled humanoid weapon?
There was information about a humanoid weapon mixed in with all the data I had about the Kirijo group. When I first saw it, I was confused, but that had to be what was standing in front of me. It seems natural, almost lifelike, but there's no denying that it's an artificial construct. It seems that the rumors of an unorthodox anti-shadow unit were true. Another man comes to join them soon. My man! He too was dressed in outlandish attire. What are you talking about? That's just what people wear in a normal jog. He was shirtless and wore a red cloak like a desert nomad. The perfect example of someone who ought to be detained for questioning. I compare his face to the list of pictures of... Sorry, I died for a moment there. I compare his face to the list of pictures of the people involved with the situation. While his taste in clothing has changed, I believe that this man is Akihiko Sanada. I can't imagine what would possess him to go about dressed like that, but they just really wanted him to stand out when they did his time skip design. I speculate about their actions. What business do they have here in a junkyard? There's nothing here but a pile of broken household electronics and abandoned televisions. Then it hits me. Detective Kurosawa had told Kirijo-san about last year's incident, and of course she has prior knowledge of personas and shadows. Then, no doubt, she's heard of the idea of entering the TV world. After all, it appears many times in the testimony of the killer from last year. Dojima-san may have disregarded it for being too far-fetched, but Detective Kurosawa must have caught on. I take a closer look. There's a mountain of old television sets. Victims of last year's switch to digital broadcast.
They're not planning to enter a TV from here, are they?
Even as I say that, the mechanical girl already has her hand sticking into a TV screen. It's exactly as I thought. The mere fact that they are testing what they heard so recently cannot bode well. Uncertainty crosses my mind. The three of them are clearly preparing to enter the television. Should I blow my cover and warn them about what they're doing? If they enter, they may not be able to leave. But the other world should no longer be dangerous anymore. And I heard from Yosuke-senpai that he'd asked Teddy to leave the exit TV out, just in case. Did Yosuke tell everyone except Chie about that? If they're Persona users, they should be able to handle the shadows. They shouldn't be in any peril. But Kirijo-san made a decision faster than I could.
The other members will wait here in the car.
Yeah. If we all barge in and something happens, we'll be devastated.
Now that you mention it, at least one of us should be staying behind as well.
I am not staying.
Us three will be plenty. We'll end this in a flash. No problem.
The same as always. Although, we have no idea what might be waiting for us on the other side. Don't get careless.
Right.
This situation, it brings back memories.
Ready!
Why enter the TV? What's going on?